At a time, we have two podiums. Would you please come to alternating podiums? Carl Muhammad, would you go to one podium? And Trinity Harmon, would you go to the other, please? Kimberly Holtz will be next.
Carl Muhammad. I really wanted to come out here tonight and really thank you, board members, for finally allowing us the opportunity to take a critical look at our part of the Florida Statute 1003.42H. And as we continue to try to build capacity inside of our community, we are hoping that you will join us on this journey. We know that now during the holiday season, every time we come into October, usually everything rolls until January. So we're going to wait until January 21st to do our kickoff to try to make some improvements as it relates to our relationship as a community with you as a school board on the day after Martin Luther King's birthday. And I really wanted to thank Ms. Andrews for your help in what we're doing and at this very critical time, and as we continue to build real capacity in our community. I sincerely want to thank you. And I brought along with me today the spirit of my ancestors with me. And they told me to thank you again themselves. And then they wanted to give a minute of appreciation, if I could, to you, Ms. Andrews. And they asked me to say this. They say, I only have just a minute, only 60 seconds in it. Forced upon me, can't refuse it. Didn't seek it, didn't choose it, but it's up to me to use it. I must suffer if I lose it, give account if I abuse it. Just a tiny minute, but eternity is in it. And sincerely, for those of you who have been on the board for a period of time, you know how long we've been wrangling with the idea of the identification of the ADOS, America's descendants of slaves, and how difficult that equation is for a lot of people to wrangle with. But we're hoping that as we looked at the opportunity that our Jewish brothers and sisters did with their introduction to their principles in the South County, we're hoping that when we come back in 2020, we all will generate some spirit, you know, because most of the time we eat dinner during Thanksgiving, and we're also giving praise to Jesus during the month of December. So I'm hoping that during this time period, it'll give you a little bit more time to accelerate your spirit so that we can do the real things that we need to be doing. And I want to thank you too, Ms. Whitfield, for your efforts. Of course, all of you. I thank all of you. And I know it's been a hard journey, but I think we are almost at a point where we can be really proud of ourselves. Thank you all again.
Thank you, Mr. Muhammad. Would you state your name for the record, please?
Good evening. My name is Trinity Harmon.
Good.
I'm a senior at Seminole Ridge High School. My freshman year, there was an incident in my JRTC program where I was pinned to the floor by a 550-pound tire, fracturing my left ankle and shattering my right foot. I was in a wheelchair for 6 months and for a walker a bit of time after that. And I just wanted to address it because I am going through a lot of struggles right now, and the school did not help me on that day. I was forced to move this tire with 6 other students, and when it fell and hurt me, there was no instructors, and when the instructor came, they tried to make me walk to a golf cart, which was called by the nurse's office, and I could not physically get up and walk to it. My friends had to assist me after prying the tire off of my legs and pulling me out from underneath it. As a result, I'm going to suffer lifelong injuries. I already have arthritis in my right foot. They said that I'm going to need another surgery to fuse my joints together because the arthritis is getting really bad to the point where I have almost no cartilage. And as a result of my injuries, I'm unable to swim, walk for long periods of time. Running is extremely painful. It hurts all the time. I never have a day where I'm not in pain. I spent my 15th birthday in a wheelchair, and the incident happened 9 days after my birthday. And as a result, I'm going to be suffering these lifelong injuries, and I'm never going to get the relief from it. And I just hope that addressing it to you will be able to help me finish this battle that I'm trying to end. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Ms. Holtz?
Good evening. Sorry, it hurts me to see her like this. My name is Kimberly Holtz. I'm Trinity's mother, in case you couldn't figure that out. A little over 3 years ago, I sent Trinity off to school just like every other day since she'd been in preschool, giving her a hug goodbye, telling her I love her and to have a great day. And unfortunately, mid-morning, I got the call that every parent holds their breath for is, Miss Holtz, your daughter's in the office and she's been hurt. They tried to explain to me what was happening, but all I could hear is my daughter crying in the background. And when I asked what was wrong and how much pain she was in, they told me she needed x-rays. So I asked them to please take her by ambulance because I was coming from Jupiter to Loxahatchee, and they refused. When I asked why, when I signed consents at the beginning of the school year, they told me that that's their school policy, is to make a parent come get her. So I called my husband, and he was luckily able to get there faster than me. And when he got there and saw she couldn't walk, he asked them to call a paramedics to take her, and they told him no. So he carried her to the car. And wasn't long after we got to the hospital that they told us that she was going to need emergency surgery. So the severity of her injuries sunk in pretty quickly, that this was not going to be a quick trip to the emergency room with a Band-Aid and going home. My beautiful little girl, in that instant, a preventable incident happened, and then she now will suffer lifelong injuries. She had to endure 2 surgeries already. Now they're saying she needs a 3rd to fuse her bones together, which will take away the mobility in her foot forever. She's 18 years old. She just turned 18 and has arthritis all through her foot. That's not fair. There were no instructors outside. There was no instructions on what to do with this 550-pound tire other than to move it. There should have been teachers out there. They should have never asked the kids to do this. And I believe that the school, if they could go back in time, would redo this. I'm sure their intentions were not to hurt my daughter, but the fact of the matter is she was hurt. And it was handled very poorly. And now my daughter has to suffer for the rest of her life. My daughter, who loves school, who can't wait to get up and go to school, even now, after all this. And the only thing I want to know is, how would you feel if it was your child or your grandchild that this happened to? What would you do? I thank you for your time.
Mr. Duncan, Attorney Duncan from Steiner, Green and Feiner, and Gary Mitten.
Good evening, everyone. After hearing Trinity and her mother speak, I think it's pretty clear here that this is a devastating injury that could have and should have been prevented. It's my understanding that the school board has already reviewed this case and decided not to approve a settlement for the statutory sovereign immunity cap. And really, I'm just here to ask you to reconsider that position. Obviously, this is something that could have and should have been prevented had the school just supervised the students, assisted them, or provided them any level of instruction on how to move this massive tire, and Trinity wouldn't have suffered these devastating injuries that she did, and they're life-changing without question. And what's worse is, after it happened, the school, for whatever reason, didn't want to render aid. They didn't want to just pick up the phone and call 911. And here we are 3 years later, and I think Trinity's mother put it best that this wasn't the school's intention. They didn't want this to happen. This wasn't their goal. Everybody makes mistakes, but the important thing is what we do after them. And here we are 3 years later, we have an opportunity to finally do what the school should have done and render her some sort of aid. And I think here, again, I would just ask you that you reconsider your position regarding resolving this matter, compensating this girl who's incurred over $160,000 worth of medical expenses, has been diagnosed with arthritis at the age of 18, has had 2 surgeries, will need another surgery. And again, all at a time in her life where she should be looking forward to all the exciting things that we've all been able to enjoy. Instead, she's going to do that, in effect, dealing with injuries and the thoughts of her high school years, being in pain and being limited in what she can do. So again, I thank you for your time, and I pray that you reconsider your position in this regard. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Duncan. Mr. Mid?
Good evening. I'd like to tell you a little story about one of your AC technicians. On June 19th of this year, he was sitting in a chair in the office when a 25-year-old helper came in. Told him to get out of the chair, it was his. Well, anybody knows the chairs in Palm Beach County School District or Palm Beach County School District chairs. But this 25-year-old decided to pick him up and dump him out of the chair. Did I tell you this technician was 62 years old? No, I didn't. So he's 62 years old, sitting doing his work when a guy comes and dumps him out. Nothing's done. Not a thing written up, nothing. 2 months later, same technician, different chair, same 25-year-old. Told him to get up, with the same thing would happen. He says, come on, man, what's the matter? 25-year-old picks him up again, chair and all, dumps him on the floor. This time it's reported to supervision. They try to get the 62-year-old guy to write a report saying it was nothing but horseplay. Now, this has happened twice to the same gentleman by the same employee, and they want to write it off as horseplay. Well, there is no horseplay in the school district. I think each one of you know that you've probably taught us that every year in some form or another. You just don't have horseplay. It's dangerous. Well, the second time he re-injured his shoulder. So rather than look forward to being dumped a third time and nothing being done either time, he decides to retire. That's all that's left to him. He can't go through being dumped out of chairs or something being dropped on his head or hurt in some other way by this employee. But the thing is, your supervision did nothing either time. Of course, you can't expect much from a plumber who's a director or a locksmith who's a general manager. I guess they just aren't taught what's right and wrong. But it happens. It's happened twice. And it's going to continue to happen as long as there's no training to your supervisors. Or there's no more discretion in who you hire. Because this gentleman was supposed to be hired as a helper, but he was a tech. 4 months on the job, 4 months. And this is what he does. And nothing is being done. I would call it criminal assault on an elderly myself. That's what happened when you're picked up physically in a chair and dumped. That's assault. Nobody was involved. Nobody was called in. Nobody was done anything for this gentleman. Not even contacted him. And we sit up here and just things are going wrong. Nothing's being done. Congratulations on you, Ms. Sanders, for bringing up your school needed help. It's a shame that you had to come to a board meeting to say it needed help, but that just shows a lack of intelligence on their part. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Winna Dunmeyer, Miriam Lang, please come up to the podiums.
Hi. My name's Winna Dunmeyer. I'm a mother. I have 2 children at schools here in Palm Beach County, but I'm here representing Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. We've been trying to come to board meetings, but been very busy trying to change what's happening with gun violence in this country. We're here to thank you. The board has been very, very wonderful in protecting our students. School police is trained to a very high level, And I think what's happening in the public schools is fantastic, so thank you very much for that. I do just have a quick comment that if we could get a little bit more notification after a Code Red drill happens in a school, I think that would be helpful, especially for our little K-5 kids. And I do know that some schools do it, but some schools don't do it, so maybe some consistency there. And also mental health, now that there's a little bit more mental health in each of the schools, some sort of guidance going home perhaps at the beginning of the year about how to talk to your children when they come home after these Code Red drills. I thought my kids were handling them fine and were completely not a problem. I mean, they're around me all the time, and I drag them, take them willingly, very willingly, to Moms Demand Action events all the time. So I thought they could talk to me about anything. And my little one, 4 days after a Code Red drill, was pretty upset, and I didn't know what was going on. And he's like, well, the teacher sat down. The teacher sat down. So they're watching really closely about what happens in these drills. And if I had known on the day of the drill, I would have talked to him after the day of that drill and addressed it right then. But overall, we're really glad that the school board supports protecting our children from gun violence in schools, and we commend you greatly. Thank you.
Ms. Dunmeyer, one of the administration members will come out and talk to you. Would you tell him or her the name of the school that you said did not call the parents after the
Sure.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Miriam Lang.
Hi, I'm Miriam Lang. I'm also a mother and a volunteer with Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. And I'd like to reiterate some of what Ms. Dunmeyer has already said. But I would like to thank you all as a school board for all of the work that you've done and continue to do in protecting our children from gun violence and other issues of violence in schools. I have a child in high school, public high school, and I have one child in charter school, middle school. So one of my concerns has been the issues around the Guardian program. So I just wanted to say that we're really very pleased with how the school resource officers have been trained in the public schools, and my hope is that the charter schools will follow the same path and not arm or teachers or people who have not been as well trained as the school resource officers. I would also like to reiterate what Ms. Dunmeyer said as part of the Red Code drills, that it would be really helpful for the parents to find out that these drills have happened if they can't find out ahead of time because of different safety issues around planning for those. It would be very helpful for the parents to know afterwards. And as the MSD school safety bill provides monies for mental health, I think that part of that could go to providing parents at the beginning of the year with some information about how to talk to their children when these things happen, when they have a drill. Some of these children, unbeknownst to many of the teachers, I'm sure, have had trauma in their lives, and these drills can re-traumatize them. And so as parents or guardians, I think it would be very helpful for us to know what to do with those children afterwards. And in addition, I would just like to add that last month was Suicide Awareness Month, and the Moms Demand Action has a program called Be Smart, which addresses gun safety and puts the onus on the adults and not the children. It talks about making sure that you don't have unsecured guns in your home, and how to store those and to talk to your children about that. And I have some brochures if you're interested. I'm happy to give them to you. But again, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Board members, do you have any comments about anything? So we need a motion to adjourn. Motion by Mr. Shaw, seconded by Mrs. Andrews. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned.